Right, let's get into it and talk about the Amflow. £8,500, have I wasted my money? No, that is the first thing to be clear. Okay, so for me personally, I'm not convinced it's the correct bike, but I'll get into that after when I talk about the Nukeproof. The spec on this is probably the first thing to go through. £8,500 is roughly what it basically sits here at. And out of the gates, what I basically swapped is the shocks. We've got an Ultimate Air Shock, Ultimate Zeb, Tech 4 brakes, floating rotors, and switched out the tyres. I'm actually running at the moment, these are double downs, so this is a high roller at the front and then Assegai on the rear. I'm actually going to switch the tyres over on these, but they're basically the same. I've got a shorty up front and an Assegai on the back. They're DH casing, so they're going to go onto the Amflow. This is going to switch round, there's a reason for that. I've changed a couple of other little things, so we're running Burgtec grips that are slightly slimmer. I prefer a slimmer grip, and a 185 bike yoke dropper. Now they come with a 150, this is a medium. This post is actually slammed, so I don't know what the insertion depth is in it, but it works out for me with I think it's a 73 from the crank center to the top of the saddle. So as a size wise, that's where I'm at. Running the Hope gravity pedals, and it runs at the moment, it's about 23.2 kilogram in weight. Now, how good is it? We all know these things are climbing incredibly well, and one thing as a trials rider in my past obviously is being able to actually negotiate up obstacles, and one thing that I'm learning and the skills that I'm trying to develop on this are obviously things like that. So I'm having to redesign my kind of riding style from when I was racing downhill, enduro, riding trails and things like that, to then obviously renegotiating climbs, technical stuff that I wouldn't have even dreamed possible on a regular bike. Now, I haven't run this in full power mode yet, and I haven't touched the boost. So the maximum that I've got this set at the moment is 85 Newton meters, and I think it's 800 watts, which is what I've set the trail mode to. It's an incredibly tunable system, and I'm very impressed with that. Having worked with Bosch at a decent level in stores for 3 years and looking after a lot of warranty cases every week, I know the system's inside and out. And the Avinox system from DJI, as everybody's probably aware by now, is an insanely tunable setup. My auto setting, I've got set at 50 Newton meters and 600 watts, which is similar to a Bosch lightweight at full power. And I've got my eco set out at 20 Newton meters and 200 watts. Now I've reduced that down to try and get as much as I can out of a day's riding, which is the main reason I bought this bike. I'll be honest, the riding on it is incredible and it does steam down stuff, but for me as a rider, and this is where I probably have a slightly different opinion to most people, the weight of the bike I feel isn't as exciting, and therefore the smiles aren't as much. Which leads me on to the Nukeproof. So I wasn't intentionally looking for another bike. After riding the Mega and racing that 323, after leaving the trade I rode a Giga that I put together. The Giga has since gone because I wasn't a massive fan of the Giga. With its single pivot, overcomplicated, it seemed to be a lot more of a bike park setup, and riding like technical trails and things like that, it just didn't feel anywhere near as lively on the back end. The braking wasn't as good. It just wasn't there for me. Whereas the Mega I was absolutely thrilled with, and it's the only bike I've ever jumped on that it just felt like I've ridden it for years, and therefore when I saw this up for sale at a bargain price, I basically jumped on it. Now I've since changed a few bits and pieces, but that is now the analog bike which I'm hoping to get back out on and ride a lot more. Now this is a bike I think is absolutely phenomenal, and I've been doing some incredible rides. So as a guide, I went out the other day to do some filming, and I've done 17.6 miles. I was out for 2.5 hours, and I put in about 2,600 feet of elevation. I'll stick in a thing from the actual stats of the actual bike. So something that's quite interesting about the bike, if you're a bit of a geek and you want to know what you're actually doing, the app itself downloads the ride, which is logged on the bike itself, and you can download that and keep a track of what you're doing. But it's interesting to see like what your cadence is and what sort of wattage and newton meters you're actually putting out, as well as the bike. And on that ride of 17.6, my average was 9 newton meters and 145 was my actual max, whereas the bike put out 9 newton meters and 85 max, because I've got my trail set at 85. I didn't use the turbo, whatever that actually is. I couldn't even tell you, to be honest with you. My wattage was 71 and the bike's wattage was 82. So I'm quite similar paired with that, and I felt that was all right. But what I have noticed, and going on to why I probably don't like the bike, it's down to my fitness, I think. And basically what I've felt is that limitation too much on the lower power settings. So my Eco at 20 newton meters, if I'm putting out more power than the bike, I am really fighting against it. Therefore it's just not efficient for me to do that. So obviously I'm using the gears, but I want to be able to ride faster than it's trying, and that I'm trying to adjust my riding style to suit the bike. Whereas other bikes, for example with a TQ motor, if you overpower that motor, you're just not using the motor. The bike itself is a lot more lively. This feels a lot more dead, and there is a lot of arguments that you can use, you know, to counterbalance, like put it in a higher mode, etc., etc. But it's not a case of that. I want the battery to, I don't know, last, I guess. So I think for a heavy bike at 23 kilograms, I just feel that for me, having the extra power and being able to push it through that, I find it a little bit frustrating, I guess. I think as a bike, I think it's incredible and it rides incredibly well, but I just feel that personally, if I got to the bottom of a trail a little bit slower on a regular bike, I feel like I would have a lot more smiles at the end of it, and the playfulness of my riding style, I prefer to be able to, I don't know, flick the bike, hop the bike and adjust the bike in an instant. Whereas although this is still a manageable bike, I just feel that you've obviously got, you know, 5 kilogram less, say for example, or 7, which in the case here, you know, it's a lot easier to manipulate the bike on a trail, and that kind of suits my personal style a little bit more so. I am trying to ride this a lot more. I've done over 115 miles I think now on the bike, and I think it's incredible. I do have to keep reiterating, the bike itself I think is incredible, and I don't think there's a better bike on the market in regards to e-bikes. It does literally hit every nail on the head. The style that I can kind of throw around in this is still there, but I'm just missing that lightweight, I don't know, little bit of thing that I just kind of want as an ex-trials rider that can hop around a lot. I just need that agility. So I bought the Mega, and time will tell which I prefer. We shall see. So yeah, to conclude, £8,500, it goes well. I do like the bike. I'm just a little bit reserved as to whether I'll actually love the bike and whether it'll actually suit my riding. I don't know. I mean, I'm pushing it, I'm getting out there, and I'm starting to ride a lot more after moving up to Scotland, to this gorgeous location at this cottage, Breckenside Cottage. I'll put a quick video up. It's stunning. I can't beat it. I'm literally surrounded by trails, and the whole point with this bike and getting this bike is that I can get out a lot more and do a lot more mileage. And that said, I would not have been able to do with my current fitness the 30 miles that I did the other day at both Delxue, a small place called Kitford, all in one shot, and then we skipped over to maybe for the afternoon, just over 30 miles and over 5,500 feet of climbing in the day in 3 locations. I probably at my height of fitness would have been able to do that no problem in a day, but however, not even close to the sort of time that we did it on the e-bikes. Obviously everybody knows this by now, and this is where they become a man's best friend, I guess, being able to just fire up climbs and session things. So yeah, to summarise, I think the bike's incredible. I am still not convinced that an e-bike for me is going to be my favourite choice. When I had the options of 2 now, I don't know. We shall see. Time will tell which I prefer to ride. I think the e-bikes has certainly got a big place in our future for anybody, and I mean anybody riding bikes. But I'm not convinced that that for me, with my fitness and the playfulness and the hopping about that I like to do on a regular mountain bike, like I did the rock at Kiratree, stupidly clipped in on the Giga, things like that. I just no, I'm not gonna try that on an e-bike. It's just no. I'll leave that silly stuff to Chris Ackrig. He's just a legend when it comes to the hopping about on literally any kind of bike at all. And if you've not seen Chris Ackrig ride, then what are you even doing? What a legend. I will keep riding this Amflow. I will keep pushing it through its paces. And if you want to see me do so, click like, hit subscribe, and watch the recent couple of videos from maybe where I am chasing Tani down some trails at good pace, hitting a few fresh KOMs, and upsetting the locals. So yeah, here we are in Scotland.